Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 87 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. And before we introduce tonight's legendary guest star tonight, I would like to introduce tonight's special co-host. First off, coming back is Kwame Jacobs.
Yo.
And introducing me tonight, our special guest co-host for this evening, Tyrone Swanberg and Callie Swenson.
Hey!
Tonight's guest star, I'm very proud to have on. I've been a fan of her work, just much like my guest co-host for tonight. I've been a fan of this work since I was a little boy, and I'm so excited to have her on tonight. My guest at this time is Alpha 5 herself, Miss Sandi Sellner. Sandi, welcome. How are you today?
It's great. Hi, everybody.
Stop. It's such a pleasure to have you on.
So fangirling.
The first question I had for you, Miss Sellner, is, and this is going to be a typical cliche question, and that is, how did you get your first start or big break into acting? Take us there.
What do you consider a big break? I mean, I started acting at 11, and that's when I started auditioning and really getting involved in it. But as far as like the first big break, I guess, would be Power Rangers, because that was my very first television experience at all. So, yeah.
So would you say that the calling for acting came at age 11, right?
No, I was just born knowing I was going to perform in some way, but 11 is when I started auditioning and stuff like that.
Ah, very cool. And
yeah.
We also have questions from our co-host tonight. Kwame, you had a question for Miss Sellner?
Yeah. Let's see. Are there any methods, preparations you do before a role?
That would depend on the type of role. It would be like wildly different for theater than it would be for, television, and it would be way different for a film. So, I mean, it could vary from just trying to break down everything from, character development and really trying to figure out how to relate, I guess. And, then there's also calling an acting coach that I keep on hand for things like this, like preparation and stuff like that for something specific. It just depends.
Oh, okay. Tyrone, your question?
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I have a questions for Sandi. My first question is memories of your first audition for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm. What's my memory of it?
Your memories for your first audition.
Okay. Yeah. My agent called and just said to show up, and the audition took place on set, which was new. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually it's in an office or something, but this was on set, which I thought was pretty cool and different. And yeah, they just said, act like a robot, which was weird. And I guess I acted like a robot well enough. And they called me pretty much that same night or the next day. It was pretty fast.
Oh,
wow.
Very cool.
Right.
Callie, your question?
How did it feel to work with the cast and crew? And I just want to say on behalf of everyone, we know how much Jason was a huge part of your life, and we're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. What I can say about working with the cast is just it was a fun environment because we were all pretty much kids, and it was all of our first times in this television world. So it was a fun set. It was really fun. Everybody had this excitement, going into it. So
I see. And I'm going to sound like a big nerd asking this question here, Sandi, but whenever I'm not on a big strict diet, I am an absolute foodie. And I know Power Rangers is a big production set. So what was the catering scene like on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Well, we have something called craft service, which is like, a table that is out all day on set, and it's filled up with everything you could think of, every kind of snack or bagel or whatever. And they have people preparing things all day. And then lunch was always catered with something, and you'd go outside at lunch under tents and just hang out. And Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing too nothing too exciting.
I'll share a very funny story. One time that Kate Sheldon, who was in Power Rangers Time Force, who played Nadira, she shared a very funny story in catering. One time, because her character had like these super sharp like nails or claws, and one time during catering, she was having a bag of potato chips, and accidentally, that one of the nails accidentally got into the potato chip bag.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
Hmm.
I mean, that's bound to happen anyway when you have super long nails.
It's hard to work. I mean, I had them for Halloween last year when I was part of my Jafar costume, and I could tell you, giving candies to trick or treaters with those claws were not easy. Not easy at all.
Yeah, not at all.
um,
I understand weird costumes for sure.
uh, Tyrone, your next question.
Yeah. Okay. My second question is that, let's say, Cindy, were you a fan of the Power Ranger series prior to gaining your role as Alpha 5?
No, I had never heard of it before, like at all.
Oh,
But how did you? If it's okay to piggyback this question, how did you hear about the Power Rangers?
I had an agent that called me and said and booked an appointment or audition for me. So that's how that worked for me. I know that, there were a lot of actors that they just had open calls for casting, but I had an agent at the time already. So the only way that I would go on an audition was if they booked it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mr. Kwame, your next question.
Hmm. So, how does it feel to be a living legend?
Oh my God. I don't know that I see that way.
Come on, you should. I mean, you're Alpha 5. Everyone knows
Yes.
Alpha 5, especially your iconic voice.
Absolutely. No,
Uh,
well,
just-
Kwame. Sandy did the bodysuit. The voice was by Richard Horvitz.
Right.
Wait, what?
which I pointed out.
Oh.
oh,
So I got
It's
your back,
okay.
Sandy.
People get that messed up a lot, so that's okay.
Okay.
may I think a little bit? Is I thought it was Rami was first before Cindy, and I look in credits, so I say,
Yes.
oh, her. I remember that time I met her at Facebook personally. So
Yeah. Romy did play. Romy was season 1, and then I came on for seasons 2 and 3.
oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's yes.
Were you, Sandy? I have to ask. Were you the alpha that portrayed the one in the episode, the wannabe ranger with Primitor, where like Primitor was aggressively shaking the Alpha 5 when he was trying to save a little kid in the park when he was disguised as one of the Rangers?
Like I couldn't recall specifically that scene, so I don't know. I'd be better able to tell you if you remember what other Rangers were in that particular episode. Like if
Yes.
Karen was in it, then I was in it.
Okay, I'll tell you. I remember
I
exactly.
think that was a Twee episode.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
That
that
was
would have
Twee.
not been me.
Yeah, that Callie's right, because I believe Walter Jones was in that one, and Austin.
Okay, yeah, then that wasn't me.
Okay.
That was probably Romy.
Yeah, that would have been Roman for sure.
Callie, you had a question?
Yeah. Hang on, let me just get to it. Okay, sorry. What was it like filming on the command center set? Because I've seen like a lot of, gonna shout out our name. I'm friends with Michael Gatto, and I've seen like a bunch of pictures. So what was it like being on that set?
I don't know. It was very much like you see in the picture. It was just because I was there for the most part, pretty much, all the time, except for a couple times where I left there. So, I mean, it was what you see. There was a lot of cool lights and buttons to push, and I liked the viewing globe. That was fun to play with. And whenever they'd set up like explosions or give me like a prop gun or something, like that was always that was going to be an extra fun day.
Wow.
I definitely want to piggyback on that question about the command center, though. Like, whenever you press those buttons as Alpha 5, like, what were the mechanics of like the things that were at the command center? Like, what did those buttons do in actuality? Like, as opposed
Nothing.
to
They just lit up. They didn't do anything specific.
And you mentioned the
Just
viewing.
magic.
And you mentioned the viewing globe too. I love the viewing globe, and I also like whenever there's an attack on the city, you hear that siren going, "Ow, ow."
Oh yeah.
Also,
the-
that one scene,
Then you'd see the lights on the command center.
Yeah.
also that one,
Every
no,
time-
one scene that definitely freaked me out as a kid was the part when, when Lord Zed comes into the command center after he's kidnapped Kim.
Uh-huh.
That just,
Oh
like,
yeah, is
weirded
that
me
when I
out
was
so
hiding
much.
behind the command center? I was like,
Yeah, and then he's like, I
that
don't
was-
like you. And
I think the scariest one, and I think you were in this one too, Sandy, was when Lord Zed invaded the command center. And I think it was
that's the one I'm
B3.
talking about.
Oh, that is okay.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
the-
was
that's
definitely
what
there for that one. Yeah.
captured. And Tommy, aka Jason, has to, actually, there were technically 3 Jasons on set, I believe.
3 Jasons?
What else, Ruben?
Jason Narvi, aka Skull.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, Jason.
Jason Frank.
Oh yeah.
And then Jason Austin St. John.
Know this, but Austin St. John is not his actual name. It's actually Jason Geiger.
Oh, okay.
AKA
I already know. I
Jason.
already know.
So he changed his name prior to getting the role.
Now, and Sandy, you've had many moments as Alpha 5. What was your favorite moment that sticks out to you that was like, man, I love this scene that I'm doing as Alpha 5?
I always say this, and I just because it was when the Michael Grotto was on set for that, and that was the Rangers Back in Time episodes. Those were my favorite because I got to leave the command center. I got to I loved meeting and playing with, and like not playing but acting with the kid versions of all the Rangers, so that was extra fun. And then I also got to go evil a little bit, so
I remember that.
that was extra fun too.
Vaguely remember.
That's the
You're probably
that's the part in like the Green with Evil saga where like Jason. Sorry, I don't mean to bring him up so much. Just when he like goes into the command center for the first time, and he like he puts that disc into Alpha's back.
Wouldn't that be season 1?
yeah.
Oh, right,
that was
yeah,
season
sorry.
one.
That's season 1.
Sorry.
I'm getting
My
confused.
bad.
No, wait.
My
When
bad. Sorry. I just.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. I'm trying to like trying to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
it's all good. It's all good.
No worries.
That is like the one evil Alpha scene that I can remember.
Mm.
Well, Callie, you had another Alpha question too. You had the next question, right?
Oh yeah. Actually, no. It is about the suit. Actually, like, what was it like? Working the suit. Was it kind of difficult for you?
Not so much difficult. It was just limiting. It was really limiting with vision. Like I couldn't see very much. And when they remade my suit for me, they made the legs different, so they kept falling down all the time. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But aside from that, it wasn't too bad. And I would always, for the life of me, I could never remember. There's a little button on the side that you're supposed to push to make the lights go on, and I would always forget. So yeah, that was always hard for me for some reason. But yeah, I mean, not too bad other than those little.
Difficult. That's what's fun.
Tyrone,
Yes.
you had a question, sir.
Okay. All right. So I have another question right here. It says to Sandi. Have you ever been to Power Morphicon or Ranger stuff? If you, how many you have been to?
Okay. I went to one Power Morphicon in Anaheim, and I think that was 2016. And I haven't been back yet since. Hopefully, in the future I'll be able to, because that's home for me, and I haven't, I always want to go home for something. And and as far as Ranger Stop, I was supposed to go. They got all 3 of us girls They had Romy and they had me and they had PETA, and they were gonna have all us girls together, and I wasn't doing so well health-wise, so I couldn't go. And I would love to be able to go back now that I'm doing really well. So hopefully soon at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yes, let me tell you, I remember that day correctly. It was supposed to become with 3 Alpha 5s. That's crazy. And then
Yeah.
found now that it says cancellation. You went there to cancellation first was before, and then the second cancellation what was Robert Axelrod, and then a year later, this is before Robert passed away. And I found out I tried to meet him the second time. Then I met Robert first time when I was on Florida SuperCon in 2018. I don't have no 2013. Sorry. But I tried to meet him the second time, but unfortunately it's cancellation. So because this is before that, I remember correctly, was back in 2019, was it has Hopple in a hospital or something, rushed it, and all of a sudden, like, I feel bad for him. So I'm disappointed a little bit. But
Yeah.
I
Robert,
believe that was
Yeah.
yeah.
That was another really sad thing. He was just so special and so kind, and yeah, so I understand. It's
Yeah,
sad.
and then what happens to you? I really wish to meet you. That's why when we met in this webcam right now, I was like, yeah.
I
Oh.
know I've been trying, trust me, I've been trying to get back over there. So
Yeah, in Orlando, basically, because the date changes in a different location right now, and it's not the same as what was Hollyhan, and now there's this different. I forgot what his name was. Yeah, it's on there. I'll tell you which one. And after this, I don't want to mean interruption like
okay.
that.
I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, like, I can say one thing. Next year is my first MorphinCon. I'm very excited about going to this. I waited since I was a little boy for something like this, so
Oh, this is gonna be exciting.
I can't wait. I'm
Well,
the next question. I'm sorry. What'd you say, Sandy?
Oh no, I'm
no, it was
listening.
me.
Kwame, you had a question.
Oh yeah. You know, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Mhm.
Did you still play as Alpha?
No, that was PETA, who I
Okay.
mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure if it was still well. Okay.
Well, on the
Yeah.
subject.
but one question, Kwani, Pierre Marie was this is the only the Alpha 5 inside in the suit, not the voice, but the same guy is Richard Horvitz.
Yes.
I didn't mean the voice, I meant the suit.
So Sandi, not only in season 2 and 3, she was there also. You were there in a music video called it Trouble in what's it called? Trouble? What's the group? Shampoo.
Yeah. They sent this suit from where they were filming and sent it over, and I did the music video for it. But yeah, PETA was in the movie. I was not.
Oh, okay. So the only music video you were there because I think
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and because I was still in LA, they filmed New Zealand. Was it New
I
Zealand?
think it was actually Australia.
Australia.
It was New Zealand. New Zealand.
Australia. Because I
Right,
remember
right.
that's how Kat Sutherland got cast.
Right. I get
the
the
new
two
Pink
mixed
Ranger.
up all the time. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Australia. And yeah, so they got PETA from there because PETA too is from Australia. And so they sent the suit to Los Angeles for the music video. And so that's how that's how that happened.
I have to ask you too, Sandy. Like, and I've access to any actor or actress I've had on my show, though, and I wouldn't be shocked if you gave this answer too. But as an actress, if you were to portray a bad guy, good guy role, which is your favorite to portray?
You know, because I've always been kind of typecast a little bit as like, you know, I've always kind of wanted to play evil or bad, and I have yet to really have that opportunity. So, yeah, I've always just really, really wanted to go there, though. Just to do something completely different. But I guess I've played a character like that in theater, I guess. But yeah, I think I'd like to do something a little more with something really out there.
I understand.
And
And
yeah.
are there any funny behind the scenes story you can share while shooting Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Just like, yeah, just just like I have an embarrassing moment that because like I mean I'm sure there are just plenty because I'm just embarrassing. But one day on the set they had this thing where a bunch of kids won a contest so that they could come on set and have a tour and get to meet all of us. And they didn't make me aware that this tour was happening on this specific day. And I hadn't got enough sleep the night before. I was really tired. And you know, a lot of times when you're filming, it's a lot of waiting. You know, it's like hurry up and wait, and you're waiting and waiting. So like they had my helmet off and they had my my little butt plate off, and I was sitting there and I had my I fell asleep basically, and I was like my lip is hanging out and I guess I'm yeah, dead asleep. And I wake up to the sound of little children going, "Mommy, mommy, Alpha's snoring." And I was just I was so
My-
mortified. Like I don't think I've been that embarrassed. Like it was just I just woke up to all these faces looking at me like yeah. So
Can't
that's
imagine how bored you must have been with all that waiting. You must have been really bored.
no, I was just tired because there are early mornings that you start. You know, you have to be there at 5 a.m. or so, and you know, I lived about an hour and a half away, so it's yeah, you're up working pretty early.
Wow.
So yeah,
Damn.
sometimes if you're sitting there for long enough and it's really early still, you'll have a hard time staying awake.
Feel so
That's-
bad for you. You have to go through all
I'm
that.
sorry that you had to go through that.
No,
Me
it's okay.
too.
That's the business. It's weird that because, like I said, that was my first television job, so I wasn't used to that kind of time clock. Now I wake up at 4 every day anyway, just because I have that system now. But yeah, at the time it was really hard to get a 19-year-old on that early kind of time clock. I was like, oh my god, how
That's
do
a
people
mood.
do this?
Yeah, and
That's an absolute mood.
yeah, and Callie, before you ask your next question, I just want to mention too, Tyrone, you mentioned that there were two different Alpha 5s in the bodysuit. There was also two different Alpha voices in the Power Rangers series in general. You had, of course, Richard Horvitz, and then you had from In Space and Lost Galaxy, you had Wendy Lee.
Alpha 5 and 6.
Alpha 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask you too, Ms. Sellner, before you ask your question, Callie, is like, did you see the design of Alpha 6 in Space? They made him more shiny looking. I was just wondering what your opinion was of Alpha 6.
More, you know, more upgraded.
I have to say it wasn't my favorite. Alpha 6 was not my favorite. I didn't like the design of the costume. I kind of liked the one that we had prior, the one that Romy and I had. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it so much. I didn't like the big just lightning bolt that went down the front.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
More used to the small one, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean there was more going on, you know, like on our chest plate, but on Alpha 6 it was just like that was it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just yeah, that's just my little 2 cents.
That's fair. That's fair.
Touche.
Callie, your question?
Okay, so what important lessons have left you during your time, you know, in Power Rangers?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's an important lesson that you learned while you were doing Power Rangers?
I think everything was a lesson. Like I said, it was my first time filming a television show, so I was learning everything. So yeah, and there were a lot of lessons to learn, I'll tell you that, and a lot of them you find out in very embarrassing ways, like I just gave you one example.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think everything was a learning.
Very cool, and I agree with you. And we just have a couple more questions, Miss Sellner, before we wrap up. One of the questions I had for you is that Power Rangers has been on the air. This is going to be their 30th year anniversary, and
Yeah.
this is going to lead to my next question too. What do you think of the impact that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers has had on new generations after 30 years after its release?
It is it's mind blowing, really. It's yeah, I could have never ever imagined how important this show became to so many people and how it's still so important. And yeah, I don't it's just I feel like it's such a blessing. It's so rewarding to still have this after so many years and get to meet your fans that grew up with you, but also then their kids that are growing up with you. And it's just a beautiful kind of thing. I think so.
I agree. And of course, you've made an impact on every single Power Ranger fan. I mean, myself, Tyrone, Kwame, Callie, we all grew up watching you as little kids, and like talking to you right now is just truly a blessing and an honor.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Technically, I
It's
wasn't
nice to
born yet.
finally get to speak to you guys because I do talk to I think every single one of you online at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
nice to
And the little
Tyrone,
birthday
we've been
gift
talking for years and years and
Yeah.
years. And so like this is our first time getting a face to face. So I am
Yeah, I'm
so
sorry about dumping that scam thing. I know it was right
Oh,
after
don't
it
worry.
passed. And
Don't worry about it.
I really just had to get it out.
I'll be right back. Give me a
No,
second.
you're okay. You're totally fine.
But do you prefer, like, like, what would you say bodysuit? Is that considered like stunt work? Like, what would you consider that, Sandy?
I don't know. Like I said, that was the only time in my whole entire life and career where I was in a suit. So, it was still just acting for me, but in a suit. I wasn't really doing stunts. So like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
and just a couple more questions before we wrap up. Also, is like, did you ever, like, because you and Rami played Alpha 5, did you ever like go to her, or like her, like vice versa, saying, "So, tell me about your experience on this set, because I'll tell you mine."
Well, I think we need a good chance to like sit down as girls and like have a little powwow and talk about stuff like that. But we do talk quite often online and stuff back and forth. But I think it's just like it's like a sisterhood. Like we just have this understanding because we both went through something that nobody else could possibly get, like what it was actually like. And she did it before I did it. So like she really didn't know what she was walking into. I mean, I didn't know, but like nobody knew. And yeah, we do talk though, and we talk about like certain things, but yeah, it would be fun to have like a sit down and really talk about like specific experience and stuff. It would be fun.
And also in the Alpha helmet, though, where was the scene of you from that helmet? Because I was curious to know where that was located.
Okay, so if you notice in the middle of the right in the center, the black, there's a black line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
red
So,
The visor.
yeah, there's like a little black line like above or below the lights. And they're just these little tiny holes, like little teeny holes. And so you can kind of see, but just kind of see, kind of like little, like you're looking through little tiny holes.
tiny holes. It needs a little bit bigger holes before you get seated and started.
It must be hard to see.
Yeah, incredibly hard. But that's why it was like it was kind of a good thing that we just stayed in the command center for the most part. That way you kind of just were really familiar with where everything was. Kind of like your house, how you can get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom kind of and not really have to open your eyes too much because you kind of know where you're going.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same kind of thing.
Understandable.
Yeah.
One final question before we wrap up, and this is going to lead to the next part of my show, which is the open forum part. Now, on my show, Sandy, we have guest stars this is the part where you could talk about, promote, hide. You could say whatever you want. It's an open mic. I am passing the proverbial microphone onto you. The floor is yours, Ms. Sellner.
I guess all I'd like to say is, well, thank you for having me, first of all. It was so nice to finally get to meet all of you face to face. And I have a fun weekend this weekend. If you're in the Washington, like Seattle, Kent area, I'm going to be at the Retro Emporium in Kent, and that's on Saturday. And it's going to be just a whole big block party kind of fun situation. So yeah, that's this weekend on Saturday the 25th. And other than that, I have another appearance at Minnesota Con, and that's June 2nd through 4th, I believe. I'll post it, so if you follow me, I'll be putting it up. But yeah, so far that's what I have coming up in the soonest, I guess.
Okay, and before we conclude, we're gonna get final questions and comments from each of our guest co-hosts. Kwame, any final comments or questions you have for Ms. Sellner?
Well, I think I have just one more, I think.
Sure.
During the production of Power Rangers, who would you say you got along with the most? Like, who was really close to you, Sandi?
Karen was actually, we were the closest because we came on literally the same day. We started the same day. The Yellow Ranger.
Wait. Oh yeah, I was gonna say Karen. I was like, oh wait, I know her. Aisha.
Karen Ash.
I know her.
Yeah, Karen Ashley.
I know her.
Yeah,
I know her. She's great.
we're the same exact age, and we were both like, it was our first day, and we were the new kids on the block, and we were the two new girls, you know. So yeah, that she was the closest to me for sure.
Very cool.
Oh yeah. You both still tall, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's a really good friend.
Very cool.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Tyrone, your final questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but this is the only I have. But I forgot to mention the other ones, but I forgot. Sorry about that. Like I said on a live stream before, so I don't have questions. Sorry about that.
You're
It's okay. It's okay, Tyrone.
Yeah,
I've done it, but not much time about that.
Callie, final questions or comments from Ms. Sellner?
I just want to say, my boyfriend texted me while we were in here, and I was just explaining, like, when Sandi was talking to you, Sandi, he was like, "Oh, is that a friend of yours?" And I was like, "No, it's the Alpha Suit actress." But I haven't heard back from him, so when he gets back to me, I'll let you know what he says.
okay.
The final comment I would like to say to you, Ms. Sellner, is that, first of all, thank you for not only this amazing interview, this was an incredible interview, and let me say also that thank you for those memories you gave me watching Power Rangers as a kid. And I say this, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this, but you have this incredible ability where you can make a 30-something-year-old fan and make him feel like he's 4 years old again and bring him down here watching Power Rangers. And I just can't thank you enough for this interview and this memories. And one last thing before we conclude, it's something that you deserve, and that is thank you, Sandi. Thank you, Sandi. Alpha 5. Thank you, Sandi. Alpha 5. Thank you, Sandi. But again, thank you so much for everyone. Thank you so much, Sandi, for coming on. Thank you, Tyrone, Callie, and Kwame for joining us. Don't worry, I'm going to send a copy of this interview as soon as it's done, when I'm done editing it. So everyone's going to get a copy of this.
Fine.
Everyone have an awesome night, and thank you again, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.